They said I was legally blind, actually.
Everybody, welcome into a Friday edition of the Computer America Show. This is actually a preview, a pre-show, tonight we got a great program planned for you. In the first hour, we're going to be talking about net neutrality, and we have an expert on the topic. His name is Michael Wendy, and he is the president of the Media Freedom organization, MediaFreedom.org, and we're going to be talking about net neutrality and the FCC and how you, the consumer, will be impacted by net neutrality. It's going to be the first hour. And then, of course, in the second hour, computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. So
2 minutes until showtime.
So also we have our show reminder winner of the week. Got a great program for you this Friday night. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We'll be starting in about a minute and a half.
Ooh, that classical music was nice. Not sure it's classical. And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany's?
This is Ben's favorite song.
Got any AC/DC?
He picked this list.
I know, but you play the same too.
Well, it's on shuffle. I'm not doing it here.
Those are the
1 minute until showtime.
We got to stop the music now and get started here. So here we go.
Is the music just for the pre-shows?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Ben, you seem so unenthused. This is exciting for me.
Why?
Because I don't get to come on the air all the time.
There's a reason for that.
You're a bad man.
He's vicious, I know.
Craig, it must be exhausting.
Yeah, well, no. 30 seconds. Stand by.
Isn't it great? Holidays only happen once a year, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Family reunions. It's not to love. I'm just kidding. How are things in Florida, Ben? Nice and warm?
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
Here we go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And
I'm your co-host, Aaron Crossman.
That's right. We have
give that a shot tonight.
Yes, we have a co-host tonight, Aaron Crossman. My son is joining us along with my other son, Ben. And Aaron wants to be here tonight because the topic is of particular interest to him, and he asked if he could join us, and I said absolutely. Aaron actually is one of our producers at ComputerAmerica.com. He's actually our webmeister. Technically, you're our webmeister, and
I mean, if we're being honest here, the truth is we just forgot to close the door fast enough, and he got his foot in, and so
that's completely
had
correct.
to let him on the show.
Absolutely. I just stuck in and got to work.
Can I sense a sibling rivalry already? Well, I'm sure they will behave themselves, maybe. But most importantly, we want to let you know that it's Friday! Yes, another week of broadcasting excellence in the can, okay, here at Computer America. And of course, that means we're going to have, what are we going to have, Ben?
A show reminder winner of said week.
Yes, a show reminder winner of the week. That's right. Someone's going to win a wonderful prize from Logitech, the Touchpad T650 all-glass touchpad valued at $80. If you signed up for our weekly email newsletter, the show reminder, you're in the drawing. It could be you. We'll be announcing that name in the second hour. Of course, in the second hour, we'll also have computer and technology news, and that's brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. So I've got a great program planned for you, and I think, unless you have anything else to say, I think we should get right to it. I mean, we got lots to talk about here, okay?
I feel like this guest is going to be, one of the more one of the more engaged discussions. So I think the more time we give it, the better.
I absolutely agree with you. Now, the website is called MediaFreedom.org, and it's a nonprofit organization, digital watchdogs, by providing counterpoint to their advocacy in the Congress, the executive branch, the courts, in the states, localities, and elsewhere. Here with us tonight is Mike Wendy, who is the president and directs MediaFreedom.org. Mike has been in the tech policy space since 1994, focusing primarily on telecommunications and IT industry-related issues that have emerged over that time. Mike is here to discuss net neutrality and what it means to you, the consumer. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, we're very glad to have you here. As you can hear, we have two co-hosts tonight. Ben is my regular co-host.
The tag team.
Yeah, exactly. Ben is the co-host. Aaron is the co-host, and we're going to be Aaron really has a lot of interest in net neutrality, and so we pulled out the overhead lighting to kind of grill you here, and to get into
You're scaring me.
No, it's going to be fun.
Don't worry. It's not good cop, bad cop. It's three good cops. So.
It's three good cops, exactly. So why don't we kind of
just like a dentist?
Yeah, exactly, but without the drill. Now we're going to kind of start.
Or the painkiller.
Exactly. It is what it is. Now, let's kind of start off, and just to set the stage for us, Mike, here, why don't you, in your own words, explain what is net neutrality?
It's a floating concept, and it depends really on, it's like Rashomon, the movie Rashomon. Everyone has a different version of what net neutrality is. In the early 2000s, the FCC came up with a voluntary set of principles based on no blocking of content, applications, services, and devices. They were voluntary. They were guidelines. Mm-hmm. And today they've morphed into what we call sort of 1934 style, FDR style regulation, telephone regulation of the Internet. And that's essentially no content should be faster than any other content on the Internet. So, and again, that depends on your point of view. The market-based point of view would be, well, we don't really need rules. We have competition and growing competition to serve consumers with choices, and there won't be blocking, and they will be offered new and innovative products. And then there's the sort of the government-mandated regulatory model that says, you know what, those evil corporations have to be watched, and we have to place rules, and we have to watch their prices, and we have to make sure that they're not providing faster content here and whatnot. So, I mean, as I say, it's sort of a floating concept. All
right. So basically, it's saying that the net needs to be free. Is that, if you had to wrap it up in a nutshell, would you say that?
Everyone is equal.
Again, it all depends on what your point of view is. I have a market point of view, and so my feeling is I believe that companies with their private property should be able to serve consumers with the Internet products, services, devices that they want, and they should be relatively free to offer those consumers and society those offerings, those packages. And that might include specialized services. That might include prioritized services. The other point of view is, all that is off the table, and the government should regulate it. So, I mean, the net should be free. We have different versions of free. My version of free is let's let the marketplace decide, and where there are where it breaks down, where it's broken, that's a place for government to come in and help. The other side of the point of this debate, the other side of free, is they want the networks to be free. They want all those resources to be free, and they want the government to decide, what are the adequate levels of service offerings that go to consumers, go to society.
Well, would this come under in other words, if I pay for, let's say, a 50 megabit per second connection to my local ISP, and I'm using more than my quote unquote fair share, whatever that might be, and they decide to throttle me back, because I'm using too much, would that come under net neutrality, or is that that type of situation?
I mean, they're debating that now, and you're talking about sort of unlimited plans, and even the unlimited sushi bar, the person that eats for 9 hours is going to get kicked out. So I mean, what's reasonable there? My point of view here is that I think the companies should be free to experiment and should be free to do with their private property, what's reasonable. And I have a pretty high threshold there. There's a lot that can be reasonable. We see through society, through the economy, a lot of sort of similar kind of experiments. We see this in the mail. We see this in the in airlines. We see this on the toll roads, on the roads.
We see that on cell phone usage, even cell phone usage. You have unlimited.
And so let's let those experiments occur. We're still growing, and that's the stuff that attracts new entrants into the market. That's the stuff that attracts new disruption into the market. When you introduce government into the picture, that becomes sort of this mother may I kind of thing, and I think that inhibits innovation, and that ultimately inhibits growth. I mean, what we've seen over the past 10 or so years, $1 trillion of investment, private investment, that they saw this back in 1996. This is how we're going to grow this new thing. Private investment, that happened as a result of the lack or a light touch of regulation. And there are safety nets. There is that, but it's not the 1934 style safety net, which is the old Communications Act, which is really based on 1800s railroad law. So that's back to the future. We don't want to go there. We're beyond that.
Well, what worries me is when you start throwing around words like reasonable. Well, I mean, that's hard to quantify, because one person's reasonable is another person's abuse. So I mean, so when you start using words like that, reasonable, there's no way to really to measure that. That's asking for trouble, is it not?
Well, the reasonable standard is throughout the law, and it's in many different aspects of the law. What does the reasonable person consider to be, acceptable? And even in the most restrictive aspect of the law that the government mandators want, there is that standard. What is reasonable? Not unreasonable discrimination, essentially. So you have to come back to that, and that's in the law. In fact, even as I say, the most restrictive part of the law that they want to go to, this 34 style telephone law, has that as the standard. So I mean, it's not something that should put us off.
Well, if you're falling back to using something like the telephone law, I mean, these are things that have been inked, but the net is so different, really. It's hard to apply the rules and things that we have to things like our phones and what have you to the internet, because it's so much more. Go ahead.
I think it's when people kind of try to explain the internet to people who aren't very internet literate, and they say something along the lines of, it's like a series of dump trucks, and it delivers data.
Or tubes.
Or a series of tubes. It's just like, the law that was previously written really doesn't apply. And I mean, like, that's exactly what the government's there to do, of course, is to try to apply law and pass law into new laws. But that doesn't seem to be working, especially with the internet.
Well, I think one other aspect here is that also that law was based on monopoly grants. In the law, franchises were granted, and we're beyond that. There really, since 1996, there are essentially no legal monopolies, and pretty much anyone can get into the market if they can afford to get into the market and provide the network services that these other companies provide. And that was the deal in the old law. You provide this service to the whole community. You provide it really pretty much without question out to the farm that's 30 miles from the central office. You got to run that if that's reasonable. Some costs were picked up, but I mean, you're the guy. But we will bless you with no competition. Well, you don't have that any longer. You have competition coming from all sorts of angles, and that's wireless competition, Wi-Fi competition, wired competition. Who knows what's next? The old model no longer applies, as you touched upon.
You're right, exactly. By the way, to our listeners, if you have a comment or question or suggestion for our guest tonight, Mike Wendy, you can give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. Email is live@computeramerica.com. You can also join us in our live interactive IRC chat room from our homepage at computeramerica.com. All the instructions are there. Just put in a nickname, do the captcha code, means you're not a bot. Click the connect button, and you'll be in there as well. And also, you can watch everything on our live Computer America videos page, which is on our same page as the chat room page. All the instructions are there. Get involved. Get in there. Just any comment or suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. So I
have a question, Craig.
Absolutely, go for it.
Mike, what in your opinion would be a great example of a system for the internet that is currently in existence? You've been comparing it to 1800s train law, 1930s telephone law, but is there a current example that you would like to see the internet take a direction towards?
I like the way that we have sort of a kaleidoscope right now, and we debate this here, in Washington. There are people that say that there are future-proof technologies, and certainly there are technologies that are beautiful. Fiber. I have Fios, okay, and I'm talking to you essentially on Fios, and that's fiber. And but we're seeing all these flavors crop up to meet individual needs, and that might involve copper. It might be extending the life of current infrastructure like DSL that's out.
Well, I was thinking more about a system of laws and regulations. You had mentioned just a few moments ago.
My own personal preferences, and I call it, we're policing internet and open source, and that's really through the advance of technology. That's through industry best practices, peer group pressure, branding, which is another form of peer group pressure, competition, consumer law, consumer education that's out there, which we've never experienced before. I mean, how many people ever looked at their tariff, in the AT&T world? We have an active watchdog media. I mean, you can name the publications. I won't name them, but I mean, you can name them, and at every step.
Sure. Oh, I think he just got muted. Craig, I think our guest is going in and out.
The open source, I call it, policing in open source, as opposed to hardcore mandates. I really think the internet has grown beautifully as a result of this of this, as opposed to where a lot of people want to go.
Right. Well, there's been a lot of talk about simplifying net neutrality as sort of this tiered structure, which is almost word for word what you would consider cell phone services, and that's an industry where you have a lot of different companies provide different services. There's competition, so that would you say that might be an example of what a open market competition-driven system might look like for the internet?
I have to interject there because nowhere with those cell phone companies that they're talking about do we ever hear the word free.
Right. Well, no one says the internet's free. Everyone.
Hold on. Let me ask you: do you want things to be free? I mean, do we really want things to be free? I mean, doesn't that mean?
Well, free? Free is kind of a difficult concept to grasp. Well, hold on. I mean,
What?
like we can say free, but if you look at cell phone company providers where they have a free market, there was, just a decision passed down by the FTC where, the cell phone companies got slammed for providing, quote, unlimited, which the free market,
Right.
has said, this is a plan we are going to provide, and we have competition, and if you don't like our plan, you can go elsewhere. And they called it unlimited, but the government definitions are so lax on what unlimited means that after so much bandwidth, they were being capped to the point of like 90% throttling, and it was horrible. And after enough complaints, the government stepped in and said, look, we want you to be a free market, but you can't say things like unlimited unless it's actually unlimited. So it's kind of, and that's part of my concern with if we go to a completely, unrestricted from the point of an ISP, are they going to say you have unlimited bandwidth until you use 10 gigabits, and then we're just going to shut it down?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way to protect the user if we unleash.
But I mean, I think what you're talking about is a recent letter by Tom Wheeler, the FCC chairman, to a couple of the incumbent telephone wireless providers concerned about the unlimited plans that they grandfathered in from years ago, and how they were throttling less than 5% of it. Throttling, it's its own sort of poke in the eye term, but I touch upon this at the top. Even the unlimited sushi bar, the guy that's sitting there eating the whole sushi bar is going to get kicked out. So I mean, there's
right. I mean, it's
even in that, but where that also is policed is at the FTC. What are the terms that you have come up with in your contract, and are you complying with those terms to the consumer? So that is a backstop. Is it, what is unlimited? What are the specific terms, and are you complying? And so, I mean, it's not like we're in this free fall. And I think a lot of people want to say, well, what the market-based people are saying is that it is a complete free fall. I mean, what I suggested about the open source is there are many backstops. There are the voluntary backstops, there's the industry backstops, and then ultimately there is sort of a consumer harm backstop, and that's through present law enforcement tools. Are consumers being harmed? Are they getting tossed unreasonably out into the street? Are they being charged unreasonable prices? Coming back to that sort of unreasonable standard, that term of art. So I mean, it's there. It's not like there's free fall, and I think that's where the debate people are freaking out. Well, you're giving us the free fall. There's no safe. No, there is. There are these pieces.
I can definitely see one of the advantages of legislation like this is, there's so much more content on the internet, and the infrastructure, the existing infrastructure, was, I mean, for the most part, built to withstand, hypertext pages flying back and forth, and not high-definition videos all day long across. If we do say, well, we need to start making room for some of these other people who provide content, that definitely has an appeal. But would you be in favor of a second approach as well, to sort of upgrade the existing infrastructure rather than trying to partition the current bandwidth? Would you be interested in seeing the expansion of bandwidth to allow more people to use the internet? Well, to have more of this content fly around.
I mean, I think that's what the companies are doing right now. I think that the economic signals are out there that are inviting companies to come in, and really probably in terms of bandwidth, in terms of competitive offerings. I mean, we see that in the cell phone area. We see that in the wired space. We see Google going into Kansas City, and where it can beat down the city and its rights of way and all the other extortions that go with that, are offering a gig of bandwidth. I think that when you put price controls, when you put sort of these arbitrary government permissions in there, you are limiting who can come in or what can come in to satisfy growing demand. And so the bandwidth, I think to the extent that you can keep, I'm going to keep coming back to this if you haven't heard the meme here, if you can keep the government out and allow those economic signals without those distortions, price controls and regulations and others, you're inviting competition in. You're lowering the hurdle for people to come and to give the next bandwidth jump to consumers. But to mandate bandwidth, to me, I think that's arbitrary and capricious. And I think, again, that interferes with the signals, the information the market needs to see in each individual market. I mean, there are at least 1,700 ISPs nationwide. Each has their own, market dynamic. Each has their own needs. The city has a different need than the country, and the suburb has a different need than the exurb. And those companies that are serving there are sitting there. They're in the trenches. They see what can be supported, can be sustained in the marketplace. They see how they can make profit, which is an important part of this, and then they go about and try to meet that. So I think when you introduce government into net neutrality as a regulation, that interferes with some very important information that we kind of just we kind of put to the side and poo-poo, but it's information that gets people to serve people.
I mean, there was a thing a couple years ago where I think the government actually kind of helped the internet service providers with like a $200 billion grant, like in tax cuts and things like that, to help upgrade the infrastructure, to most households in America and that kind of thing. And I mean, the government does have a way of coming in and not, just shaming everything or controlling everything, but there has to be a way where the government can come in and be helpful, right?
No, I agree with that. Now, again, I'm not one of those people that said, government should always be out. And I recognize, some of the sentiment, that Elizabeth Warren and President Obama and even Hillary Clinton have been talking about. You didn't build this. There is a partnership. And I think that where things are truly broken, then there's probably a legitimate role for government to go in and try to help. I don't like it when government competes with the private sector. In the telecom sector, we have over 100-year history of pretty much private sector providing comms services, telecoms services. In the past 10 years, we have seen an explosion, beyond the 90 years previous to that we have never seen. That is as a result of really government stepping out of the way. So, I'm not one of those people that says, government should never be there. Government plays an important role. But, that shouldn't be the default. I think what you're talking about just a moment ago was the stimulus, the 2009 stimulus, a $7 billion program, $7.2 billion. And, if you can name some success stories from that, I'll give you the grand prize. $7.2 billion have gone to infrastructure that you basically don't know where it went. Didn't go for all odd-band infrastructure. Went to computer training and other kinds of things. So even where you have this, and then on top of that, we have the Universal Service Plan, the Connect America plan for broadband. Look, those are backstops. Those are there as band-aids. Those are there to help truly broken areas. But really, we have a success story here. We have a success story of the past 10 years that has brought internet into the mainstream, and people use it, love it, and it's growing because of private investment. So, there is a balance, but government shouldn't be the default.
Mike, you had mentioned there was quite a large number of individual internet service providers across the country. Was it 1,800, 1,200?
It's 1,700. So some people
Right.
get to 3,000. Depends if you call WISPs,
So,
that kind of thing.
do these companies own the backbone, or like who actually owns the backbone of the internet? Do these companies all own the hardware and then they share with each other to deliver content? Who is it that actually owns the infrastructure?
Well, I mean that's
Yeah.
a lot of pieces there. I
Yeah, it
mean
is.
it's primarily 90% of all the infrastructure that we see, from the last mile to the middle mile to the backbone and back again to the last mile, is owned and run privately.
Okay. Here's we were just talking about, antique comparisons, but I think this one might, apply. Um, when you have that many internet service providers, and when you have this government regulation that says you have to treat all content the same, then let's say one internet service provider is providing content to its user from some other part of the world, and the content has to flow through another internet service provider. If that ISP service, says that every other content besides ours is less priority, then you're going to have a bottleneck at every checkpoint between the content creator and the end user. And this is to me, it sounds similar to when they were setting up the interstate law way back in the 1700s. You have all these different states, they all have their own highways, and they were all having conflict with how do you state to another. Eventually they came up and they said, well, federal government steps in, they set the regulation for interstate law, and the problems for the most part went away. You're right, a couple hundred years later you can make the case, well, we have to deal with, they're applying this interstate commerce clause to just about everything, but what's the alternative? Every state's going to set its own laws. That makes it so much difficult to drive from one state to another.
And also,
so there's this.
You're dealing. You're
Yeah.
dealing with a physical road, and of course.
Well, this is itself physical. Even though the internet moves at the speed of light, you really can't put aside the fact that this actually is hardware. This travels across wires, and these wires are owned by all different companies. And my concern is, as content flows through these wires, and each mile of wire is owned by a different company, if they don't treat each other's content fairly, is this going to make my experience less than what it otherwise would be if every piece of content was considered fairly?
Mike, why don't you think on that question for a moment, because we're at the bottom of the hour, we're at a break, and then we'll continue on. This is the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. Aaron, Ben, and myself are talking to Mike Wendy, the president of MediaFreedom.org. Net neutrality is the topic for the hour. We'll be right back with more right after these words.
Hey everyone, have you heard about the No Hair Removal device that's sweeping the globe? If you want to go weeks without shaving and get smooth, professional quality results, here's our favorite host, Cheryl, for No Hair Removal.
Thanks. Hey, it's this cute little hair removal system that you can take with you and use almost anywhere at home or on the road. No more expensive in-office treatments, painful waxing, and no more wasting your valuable time. Got unwanted facial hair? No has patented thermocon technology that works on all hair and skin colors, so it's perfect for using on all body parts. And now you can take advantage of this incredible risk-free trial. Get the No, the facial kit, a travel case, and a $100 discount shopping card, and you don't risk a penny to try the incredible No Hair completely risk-free. Call 1-800-953-5415. That's 800-953-5415. 800-953-5415.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for... You're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. Emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people. How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hey, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time it's, Beardski. With a scarf around your neck, a mask or another scarf covering your face, and something else warm over your ears, you could be toting a ton of togs just to keep the cold of winter away from your face. We got a Beardski, a fun alternative mask and then some that wraps around your head, Velcro at the back, covers your ears, your nose, a hole for nostrils, your mouth, a mesh cover, under your chin, and down your chest. It looks like a costume beard, but nobody's going to ridicule you when you're toasty and they're fighting frostbite. The polyester and rubber thermal fleece is washable, non-flammable, and water-resistant. Bottom line, wearing a Beardski may look silly, but when one piece can keep so many parts of you warm, you could be sillier not to wear one. This is Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 33 minutes past the hour, and Beardski, they look actually pretty entertaining. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Is that one you're wearing right now?
yeah, exactly. It's I'm wearing the short one, and it's red, so what have you. But back on topic, and Mr. Michael Wendy is here with us from MediaFreedom.org, and I feel like if we let this conversation kind of keep going the way it's going to get very disorganized, and we're going to kind of lose the point. But right before the break, Aaron was trying to bring up the topic of who owns the backbone, and yes, there's a lot of fiber, or there's a lot of fiber laid down, that is the internet backbone, laid down by different companies, and they have their own networks, their own servers, their own, they have their own stuff that really, when you think of the internet, it's a mesh between all of these private companies and even some public utilities. So I think what Aaron was trying to get at, though, was that if companies are allowed to kind of, have this tiered model, then while they own 10% of the internet, they own 20% of the of the servers, the hardware, the back. They could put in bottlenecks that doesn't just affect their customers. They aren't going to just be giving themselves greater speed. They're going to be affecting customers from all over the internet. It's this tiered plan really can't work when the internet is truly a mesh. So do you think there's a way that, while it's so interconnected, do you think these companies can kind of diversify themselves enough to, set themselves apart?
Can they learn to work together?
Yeah, play nice with each other. I don't see that happening.
Well, it's the rules that are being contemplated here in Washington D.C. were predicated on four incidents, specious, because at least two of those were settled, and two are questionable. And what they want to do is to prophylactically address your concern, essentially blocking, right? And why can't we all get along? Oddly, the internet, through trillions, in fact, I might even be talking to you guys, at least two of you on the internet, through internet connections. Oddly, we have been able to do this for quite some time without really major disruption. If you can give me, hardcore examples where, in the trillions of internet interactions a day, in terms of packets, if there is a problem, then maybe we need to fix it. But there is no demonstrable problem. This is all something that could happen. You put it in the future tense. Could.
Well, the tiered internet service isn't yet a thing.
Is worried about, and I get it, but that has not been the habit. So my feeling is, look, if there are problems, if we can't interconnect, if we cannot transit traffic, if we can't get along, consumers will be harmed, and we will hear about it, and we have all the powers to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. But again, trillions of interactions, and really there might be 4 incidents that have set these rules in motion. So I mean, it's a little overkill in my book. Let's see where consumers are getting harmed if that happens, and if it happens, let's address it. I don't have a problem with addressing consumer harm. I have a problem with creating this nuclear option here to deal with something that might, but hasn't happened yet, and that's the stuff that
this whole idea that it hasn't yet happened. We don't yet have tiered internet service, and we have other telecom services where we do have tiered internet services, and there are existing complaints. One of my concerns is with the free market, and this is very true. You always do have the option of going to some other game in town if you are harmed, and that's what keeps the free market in check. However, with especially major utilities, you have this issue where there's often only one game in town. I mean, I can speak personally. Where I live, there's really only one internet provider that provides modern services, and everyone else is essentially DSL or dial-up, and that's probably similar for many people across the country. So you can say, well, the free market is self-regulating, there's competition, but is that always the case? What if there is no competition and consumers start getting harmed? What is their resort? To go to the government, right?
Here, and you kind of poo-poo DSL, but I don't know if you know, but DSL phone companies aren't sitting around taking this lightly. There's another version of DSL that's on the horizons. It's going to be like 1,000 times faster than what they're doing now, and I mean literally 1,000 times faster. So I think
I said DSL, I was thinking 1990s speed. 3 megabits versus 10 megabits or 1,000 megabits.
DSL is going to come into its own in the next couple of years. So,
and then we're getting into that future territory again.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, I meant, okay, so currently for many consumers there's only one game in town, so if the free market does decide to, modify its services in favor of content providers at the expense of the end user, and this angers the end user, what is the resort for the end user? That is my question in a nutshell.
Yeah, I don't think that market competition is perfect, but I do find it to be a better allocator of resources and capital than the government. I mean, companies that are making these decisions on markets, individual markets and needs, they've got a dog in the hunt, and they suffer if they make bad decisions, and they win if they make good decisions. When you put a regulation in that says, thou shalt only have fiber, thou shalt only serve X, that is going to keep people out of the market. We have quite an abundance of choices, but there are a lot of flavors. So if you think that many want fiber, and I like fiber, and I moved from coax to DSL to fiber, there are people that want that, but studies also show that a lot of people, in fact the majority of people, are accessing the internet via wireless and LTE, and and that's changing. So I mean, the only game in town, there are, in any given market, there are at least 2 wired providers, and then there might be even 4 national providers, and that's not even talking about the resellers or the local providers of wireless service.
Mike,
right.
let me ask you. Let me just interject here. I mean, we're talking about regulated internet, and we're saying it. Oh, the knee-jerk reaction to maybe a more regulated internet is right. We hear the word regulated. That's a bad thing. But what does a more regulated internet actually look like? Is it really a bad thing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been talking about it throughout.
Yeah.
It's price control. It's open access.
Right.
It's service control. It's when I can put lines in and lines out. It's mother, may I innovate.
Okay.
Really, did Silicon Valley do that? So
Yeah.
why should the networks do that?
Yeah.
There are, in any given market, 6 different broadband choices. Why should they have to go to the FCC and say, Mother, may I do this, and really, so I can innovate, but really so that I don't harm the other constituencies? Come on. I mean,
But
yeah, I can see, and it. Mhm.
no, I was gonna say, like, Silicon Valley, that their whole thing is innovating. That's where the great tech ideas come from. But I think the
They
average
don't have
person,
regulations.
yeah, but I think the average two-person household in Southern Alabama, they're not looking to innovate. They're looking for a decent, and for the most part, they are competition or otherwise. If I feel like if it was kind of controlled by someone else who isn't looking at the bottom line, who isn't going to say, okay, well, this is going to cost us 20 grand to run a line out to your house, so pay us the 20 grand and then we'll try to get you some internet. If it was more kind of regulated to a point where households have to have internet, I think just from a personal point of view, that would be amazing.
That would certainly
I,
expand.
I want people to make their own individual choices, and again, I think that you're inviting a host of unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Even with the light regulations, there are 2 proposals that are being essentially floated. 2 variants being floated at the FCC in Washington. One is sort of a not so light touch, but lighter in comparison to this sort of 1934 style telephone law. And both of those are inviting regulation that wasn't on the net and didn't contribute to the growth of the net and to positive societal, and probably won't. And the unintended consequences of both of these proposals that will happen by the end of this year, one or the other, or a hybrid of the 2, is the ISPs will be hamstrung, and it will look like they will be mandated to serve in X, Y, and Z, and cost will be controlled ostensibly, but that it never works that way, and the consumer doesn't benefit from that. But perhaps the more egregious of those unintended consequences, we are a web. Every computer is connected. Every computer is a common carrier, ostensibly. Every computer could be regulated. Silicon Valley could be regulated as a result. That's a very real discussion we're having here in Washington, D.C. Silicon Valley believes it can cabin in the rule. It can cabin in the regulation, so it will not be touched. Maybe for this FCC, but we have seen FCCs change. So let's not invite this. Not only will it harm network growth, the infrastructure, the core that we need and cannot live without, but it will harm Silicon Valley, the things that you're talking about right now, the things that we're talking over right now, the services, the applications, the devices.
Right. Mike, I have a question. It's my understanding that currently the system is, across the board, every ISP has to treat every packet that gets sent across the internet as equal. And it's my understanding that
no rules right now. The only rule right now is transparency. You offer your terms, and people can see what they're getting, essentially.
So
right now, the law is, because it was thrown out in January, and that's what they're arguing over with the FCC rulemaking right now. There are no rules. We are in a non-net neutrality.
okay, so
I don't know if you know that. I mean, and so the internet hasn't come to a crashing halt, I think, is what I'm saying.
so there are no rules currently.
There
Okay.
are only backstops that I touched on the top.
Right,
FTC has some. FCC has some residual backstop. The marketplace takes care of itself. And consumer harm really is the ultimate backstop. I mean, I've looked into this. There are no FCC complaints on net neutrality. There are no broken out complaints on net neutrality. We're such a problem. We see this with the telephone law. We see this with the marketing. Thousands upon thousands. No net neutrality. All we see are these comments from the advocacy groups, but not from average consumers.
This doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense to me. It's my understanding that we currently have net neutrality, which requires that every packet is treated equally.
No.
And it is because of this.
De facto. It's the habit. It's the habit of the network. It's that it becomes a mutually assured destruction if you start messing around. The only places that we're seeing questions happen are, with Netflix and Google, Yahoo, that are, 50% of the traffic is coming off of their servers, and companies rightly want to be able to deliver that bandwidth to people, but those services are clogging up the internet, essentially.
Because every packet is equal, right? I mean, that's the problem. Because every packet is equal.
No, not every packet. No.
Okay, so how would requiring that every packet is equal fix this? Hold on. See, this doesn't make.
We'd all have equal of nothing, essentially.
Okay, because I mean, every news article that I'm finding is where you have Verizon or other major telecom carriers going to the FCC requesting that they remove net neutrality and allow them to decide as the carrier, as the ISP.
Well, we talked about this at the top of it. What is net neutrality in your view? What is net neutrality in
every packet is equal? Right?
No.
That's net neutrality. Hence,
it's a flavor of net neutrality. That is a flavor, and that's where the advocates, that's where the anti-property people want to go. They don't want ISPs to determine.
Like, I understand that it's all property of the private sector, and everyone owns, part of this backbone, but at the end of the day, it's kind of in the name, right? It's an internet service provider. Why should their job should be to move packets from one part of the world to the other, and they get paid to do so. Why should they have any say in what's important and what's not? Why should they get to decide which content, deserves the fast lane and which doesn't? Which is, essentially what they're trying to offer. Different plans, different content. You pay for different, levels of providing. I mean, this is starting to click in my head.
Oh, wait, no, wait, that's your soapbox. My bad.
I mean, no. I'm just saying. Yeah, I almost feel like this whole discussion so far, I've been having it backwards in my own head, and and now it's starting to make sense. This net neutrality. I was under the impression we currently have net neutrality, and what is in the works is, the free market would like to decide not which packets are more equal than others, which is what the talking point is, rather than saying every packet is equal.
They want to deliver what consumers want. If consumers want a different offering, they should be allowed to do it. Just like the post office, just like Amtrak, just like the toll roads that we see, just like I-95 here
but
around.
Who is the consumer? Is it the end user or the content provider?
Position here. It's not in their interest to discriminate and block. That's why you haven't seen. We have de facto, in reality, net neutrality. It wasn't a law that created. This is how this is our habit. This is what we do. We want people to use our services, and we want them to use them a lot.
Right.
And if you block, and if you screw it up, and if you spit on it, they're not going to use it a lot. And
who is the user of these services, in your opinion, for the sake of this discussion? Is the user the content provider, or is it the end user, as in the person watching the content?
No, say that again. I'm sorry.
Right. So, we talked about how Netflix takes up 50% of the bandwidth, right? Well, Netflix is a user of the internet as the content creator, or the content provider, and then we have the content. Well, no, they create the content. The ISP acts as the distributor in this case, as the middleman, and then there's the end user sitting in their home watching, their program via the internet. So you have to be acting as the middleman, and I've been thinking the end user, the person sitting in their home, is the consumer, but it almost seems like you're making the case that Netflix in this case would be the consumer who is purchasing the right to use the bandwidth. I mean, for the sake of discussion, which is, is it both?
Yeah. And I mean, we have, it's a two-sided market, or a multifaceted market. And you sort of talked about this before. This is, it's physical, right? It's
right.
Transmitting zeros and ones over network is a physical act. You're using physical property, and the people that are providing that property should have a say in how that how it gets reasonably managed. They have that say. The FCC rules from 2010 until January suggested that they didn't have a say, but what the companies want to be able to do is to be able to provide differentiation,
right,
and to provide the services they believe, not government, not what has been mandated, what consumers want and will buy.
Right. So there it is again. Consumers, and I believe me, I do not envy the ISP's position in this market, because they have to try to bridge this gap between content creators and the people sitting in their homes. And what are they to do when Netflix says we would like a larger share of the bandwidth, and they are following government rules which say, well, we have to treat you just as equal as some person creating a website in their home down the street. Didn't
the light bulb just go off in your head?
Well, here's the problem with that. If you have people, no. Now I think we are operating on the same wavelength. Here's the problem from this point of view. If you start giving a larger share of the internet to companies that have a lot more money than people sitting in their home, right? Netflix has billions of dollars, and I do not. You start saying Netflix deserves more of the internet traffic than I do, I can't defend myself in a free market. So I have to go to the government and say, look, we the people have bargaining power together, right? See, that's the discussion there. So if we say, yes, it's good for the consumer, who is the consumer? And I think if your argument is the consumer is Netflix, then you've just robbed everyone sitting in their home of any type of protection in favor of the large corporations.
I disagree with that. First of all, two-sided markets are common markets. We see this in advertising, in newspapers, and TV, everywhere. It's a normal economic tool used by virtually every sector of the economy to improve consumer benefit and to improve consumer differentiation, choice, essentially. So when you get a government regulator that says you can't do that, they are not boosting. I think it's important that a company has the ability. These are contracts that they should be able to do. They're communications companies. The First Amendment says thou shalt not, create a law that infringes a communicator, essentially. I'm just paraphrasing, of course. But the FCC treats them as essentially non-communications companies.
Well,
what part of that is wrong?
If we look at the 2008 election, corporations are people, so aren't they just as equal as I am? I mean, come on.
No. I mean, corporations are made up of people. Come on.
Right, of course.
So, I mean, we're talking probably over a corporation right now. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, I have a problem with the FCC saying, you can only be the communications company that we determine you to be. I mean, from a First Amendment principle. And we're not even talking about private property. You said physical. It's physical. So they are compelling service. They are compelling openness. I mean, really, so I want your house. Where do you live? Do you have a nice house? Are you in Boca Raton? I'm coming down because I think it's nice. The public deems it to be nice, and that's essentially what happened here. The public deems the majority, or this vast amorphous cloud has deemed, probably advocates paid by Google, have deemed that they want the property. And that's essentially what this whole battle is about. Silicon Valley is saying, I don't want to pay the subsidy. I'm being subsidized. I don't want to pay. And the ISP is saying, look, you're clogging up my damn networks. I need to be able to improve it so that you can get your services, your goods to the consumer the way that you have marketed it. And now it's not working for anyone.
We might be able to explore this a little bit more tangibly if we compare it to another utility. Let's say there is there's a finite amount of bandwidth which we're working to expand with new infrastructure, but let's compare it to water. Let's say a city has a finite amount of water, and large corporations say, we would like a greater share of the municipal water supply, and now water companies say, if you pay us enough money, we will restrict the water supply to individual homes to provide you the water. How would you feel in that situation?
A, it's not as important as water, and B, it probably already occurs.
Oh, I mean, First Amendment communication is one of our fundamental rights as citizens.
You pay for the water. You pay tiered service for the water, probably.
Of course, but I can't pay $20 a gallon for water like Netflix can.
Look, if Netflix said, I demand all the water and I'm not going to pay for it, wouldn't you be upset?
Netflix says, I can pay for it and I demand all the water.
And you're not being compensated for that?
No, I'm saying, like, I understand the free market mechanics in this situation. I just can't compete with the large sums of money that companies have, which is why we currently have rules in place saying everyone has to be equal. If someone wants water, they have to get it.
Well, broadband's not water, so we can move on from that. I'm just going to say. Are you suffering right now? Tell me.
I have a feeling I would be if Netflix demanded all the bandwidth. Then I would be essentially paying for broadband but getting dial-up, and then I would feel cheated as an end user.
Hey, listen.
So Netflix should pay to help improve the network.
I'm saying the government should step in and tell ISPs that I am just as important as Netflix, even though I can't pay top dollar like Netflix can, because the internet is a community of all of its users and not just the content providers like TV, for example.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen. We're running out of time real quickly. Mike, I asked.
Please, second hour. Oh, please.
If you could stay for the part of the second hour, we would really appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So then we're going to do that. Mike Wendy, as the president of MediaFreedom.org, and we're in a hot debate. Of course, Aaron, my co-host, is here along with Ben, my co-host, and we're discussing net neutrality. And it looks like we're going to continue this into the second hour as well. Some of the things I also want to get to, we really haven't had a chance to, is we'll talk a little bit about the FCC. I mean, how political is it, and should we be worried with if the FCC getting involved with this and censorship? Take some of the topics that I would like to discuss with you further. But we're gonna do that. Let me just take a pause here for a moment, and just let me mention that we're going to also have our show reminder winner of the week. We'll be announcing that in the second hour, and of course our contest at ComputerAmerica.com are in full swing. Just click on our contest page. It's right under the Interact pull-down menu, and you can see all of our contests. Our Logitech contest, which actually has a registration form now. We have 3 great prizes: third, second, and grand prize, which is the Logitech X300 mobile wireless stereo speaker valued at $70. You can just fill out the form there and enter the contest. And of course, our show reminder: you subscribe to our weekly email newsletter, The Show Reminder. It's delivered every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, piping hot into your email inbox. And from that list of names, we draw a winning name, like we did tonight, and we'll be announcing to win a really nice prize from Logitech. So enter in all of our prizes, contests. You might win a really nice prize. Who knows? All right, this is the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boost Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network. MediaFreedom.org stays with us. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron.
All right, and we've decided, because the topic is so hot, and we're going to continue on. We're going to have our show reminder winner of the week. We'll announce that probably at the bottom of the hour when we come back. But we've talked to Mike Wendy, who has agreed to stay on with us. He's the president and directs of MediaFreedom.org. And again, he has been in this. He's here discussing net neutrality with us. And if you have a comment or a question or suggestion, you can give us a call at 347-884-8881. So where do we leave off? Yeah, Mike, we were just I know you were finishing an answer. Aaron had asked you a question.
Right.
You were kind of finishing it off, but then we had to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, did he answer your question to your satisfaction?
We were just finally. I think this is it's with a topic as complex as net neutrality and the regulation of the internet. I think we finally found common terms.
Hey, I mean, we're dedicating another hour of the show. Can't we solve this? I mean, we got.
Yeah. We can hash this out and then call up, Congress,
Yeah, we'll let
we'll just
Congress
get this
know what we
all
come up
fixed.
with.
Yeah. So I think over the last hour, we were talking about the relationships between the internet service provider, content providers, and the home users of the internet. And the question on the table is what happens to the home users if the consumers on the other end of the ISP get to pay for, they essentially get to dictate which content is important and which isn't. And the ISPs enable that by creating a tiered system that would, let basically ISPs and content creators set the rules for the internet.
And it's a good thing, right?
Well, I mean, that is the crux of the debate. I mean, I could take one side or the other for the sake of argument. Let's say I think it's a bad thing for the people sitting in their homes that content providers get to essentially pay more money to decide the rules of the internet, when I think that should be decided by the entire community.
Yeah, I look at when the entire community through a very political FCC gets involved, then the entire community really is left to the wayside here. And I do want to. I would hope that we could keep as many market signals as possible in any system of regulation. And ultimately, though, the FCC is a political body. And it is captured by the people it regulates, at the companies that it regulates, and the average guy that is out there, it's hard for the FCC to listen to that individual concern. And deal with it in a manner that fairly allocates private resources and fairly outs liability and casts law about. My feeling is that let's try to minimize that as much as possible, and let's look for consumer harm where it occurs and then deal with that. But to cast a large net, an overly broad net over things that haven't yet happened and may never happen, that's the stuff where the little guy gets hurt. That's the stuff where we don't see the services that could have been because we had to go to the FCC to get permission. That's the stuff that I decided not to build a line out to Hoboken, Iowa, if there is even such a place, because I had price controls. I was only regulated X amount of profit. I'm not allowed to make an agreement with someone that might actually help me subsidize that line. And these are the things that go through my head when I think about regulation. Let's see if private agreements can deal with that, and so far they have.
So because government fails across the board in theory, we should avoid it at all costs in practice.
No, I don't say that. I mean, I think what we're looking for again are demonstrable instances of people suffering, of harm, demonstrable instances of where markets are truly broken, where there is no internet service, where we don't even get dial-up. That's the kind of thing that we should be looking for. But because Chattanooga didn't have fiber until the public utility came in and wired the community, was the community suffering? Now we look at it as like, of course the community was suffering. Maybe not so much. But now we've got a government entity in there competing with the private sector with subsidies that are borne not by just the people in Chattanooga, but by me here in America. So I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's sustainable. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I don't think the consumer wins in the long run.
Until a CEO of some ISP company comes into someone's house and strangles them and then beats their dog, you're not going to get monstrous, cruelty by these companies. It's just internet. And your internet goes out, and yeah, it's a boring, sad, lonely day, but you'll get over it when hopefully you get it. You get internet again.
Especially if you have a boring, sad, lonely life.
Exactly. It's a service, and it's a breach of contract.
But I mean, it's a service. So I mean, when you look for monstrous oversights and that kind of thing, you shouldn't be looking for, hey, this person lost their house because they couldn't get, they couldn't watch their house. It's not that kind of thing. It should be, okay, well, in general, these people are paying, $90 for an inferior product, and it's, just a general lack of consumer, interest. People are paying more for lower quality, internet across the country. We have people in the chat room right now. I have personal instances here where I'm paying, in one area I was paying $30 for 100 gigs. No, I'm sorry, 100 megabytes. Now in South Florida, where I have more competition, I'm paying much more for much less. I mean, there is just so much. People are paying for bad products, and and there's no way that you're going to get monstrous consequences because again, it's just internet. But there still should be some.
I think I see Mike's viewpoint here, though. He's saying that because we haven't had any instances of even, I'm not saying strangle your dog monstrous breaches here, but because there are relatively few complaints, why not give it a shot? But the other side of the argument is saying there have been few complaints because these rules that are being requested are not currently in place, and should we put these rules in place, that might open the floodgates. And then what happens? We just have to go right back to where we were?
Or they're saying that, well, no one's bothering us. This is how I look at it. Look. They're saying no one bothering us, so maybe we can get away with it, and if we can do it and no one's going to complain, we'll just get away with it.
Look, the market is supplying. Does your utility improve 3 times better every 2 years? Really? Did your water utility do that? Did your electric utility do that?
No.
Did your gas utility? No. But you know what?
Well, the pipeline of the internet might have improved by threefold, but the density of the content went up tenfold. So now we have this limit with our services. Now we have HD video streaming across the board, across every website.
You got a better service. You got a better service, though.
Exactly, but the service.
Get 4K as a result of this. Can you imagine that?
And it's only going to get worse, right? I mean, it's only going to get worse. You have this situation where the content is outpacing the hardware, and instead of improving the hardware, they're trying to find better ways to divvy it up. And who gets to set those rules?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, so even though the internet has been improving over the past few years, the density, the information density of the content has gone up so much greater, right?
Yeah.
The density of our video, our HD video, our 4K video is pushing the limits of our infrastructure. And instead of investing in the infrastructure to make it wider so everyone can continue using it, it might be economically make more sense to just charge higher rates for the limited bandwidth. And that is what I believe they're trying to do. The question is, how do we get a say in this change, in this fundamental change to the internet?
Well, look, I mean, people should pay more for better services, and I'm big about that. But I mean, again, what industry spends $70 billion a year to improve their services, their infrastructure? I mean, Google doesn't do that.
The internet.
Netflix doesn't do that, but the ISPs are doing that, and whether you believe it or not, $70 billion. I mean, it is the most capitally intensive business in America, meaning the world, and that's because they see profit and they want to improve it so that people have choice and people have good services, the stuff that they promise and they want to deliver on. So if you put, I can't imagine a government, unless you want to subsidize it, if that's what you're talking about.
No, I'm not necessarily talking about subsidizing it.
You
I'm
know, and again, I'll just come back to the utility. 3 times better every 10 years, every 2 years. I don't. And those are those utilities are taxed
right.
and tax supported. I don't see how it would get better. I don't
I guess
get better than
as
it
a
is now.
personal concern, if they're spending $70 billion to improve the infrastructure, which is, that is fantastic. That is commendable. Um, but if they are allowed to put rules in place that says using the existing infrastructure, we can charge higher rates, they could make more money with no capital investment to the infrastructure year over year. So where is the incentive?
They're already ruled. There are no rules right now.
Well,
They do it now without rules.
there
They've
is a
been doing
rule.
this until 2010 without rules.
I'm
They
thinking.
were thrown out in January. They do this. This is what they do. This
Right.
is without rules.
All
I'm
right. Well, look, we're getting some comments in the chat room. One of the things that one of our says, he says I've seen a 2 megabit per second improvement in my Surface in 10 years. He says that's not worth $70 billion.
Well, it's 70 billion across the country.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
let's keep some. Let's have a little bit of perspective. But, one of my concerns is, there is a rule that says every packet is currently you cannot have a tiered service. And I'm thinking they're spending $70 billion to improve the infrastructure because
No,
Netflix wants to move more information. And so they have to improve the infrastructure.
Going no. Go ahead, Mike.
there is no rule. Right now we are ruleless. The only rule that's in existence from 2010 are transparency rules. Essentially, I provide X, and the government goes, well, you're not providing X. Okay, and that's the rule. That's the law right now. What they're debating are rules that I think you're talking about. The no blocking, the no discrimination, all packets are equal, everything should be free rule. But we don't exist in that rule. And really, we've never really existed in the rule. There's never been, and really, the growth has been because there aren't rules. They're minimum rules. Very
So
minimum
then
rules
what's the issue?
practices that have made this work. Peering everything.
What's the issue then? Why don't companies just do it? Why are we even having this debate if there's no rules?
Like if status quo was working, then net neutrality wouldn't need to be introduced. If it's working, it's working. We don't need these
No,
this
I'm just
legislation
saying,
to come into play.
why are we even having this discussion if ISPs can already do whatever they want in a ruleless environment?
We exist in a capitalist society, and they are delivering on what they see is the best amount of risk to innovation. The market, essentially, the dynamic market, and they go into each market and they figure out, what can I invest, what can I get a return on, where can I make profit. To say, because people, again, we are captured here in Washington, D.C. by some very powerful lobbies. And, I'm well aware of those and have worked with those lobbies. And right now, to say that why are we having this debate, the existence of the debate means it's legitimate. I don't agree with that. I mean,
Well, no, I was
for the
just
longest
thinking.
time, people are saying this is a solution. This is not a problem. And the Silicon Valley, in particular, has been trying to foist a solution for something that's not a problem: net neutrality. And they have captured the FCC since 2009. They have captured, and really, this is a decade-long battle. And this battle doesn't go just to the FCC. This goes from free software and BSD versus GPL and Larry Lessig and Richard Stallman. And this is just another flavor of this. People want free stuff. Silicon Valley is making a killing because it doesn't have to pay for infrastructure. And that is essentially what's going on. The existence of the debate is a false debate. The existence of the debate does not prove anything. And that is the concern here.
Well, I was just doing some light reading on the subject, and you were mentioning in the first hour about the Communications Act of 1934, and it looks like in that act they had this concept of a common carrier, right? Which says that if there is one service that is being provided to everyone, then they are overseen by a regulatory body that ensures there is no unfairness, right? It's not that there are multiple internets. Every ISP is tapping into the same internet, and they are all being regulated in order to make sure that that common internet is not being used in some unfair manner. And they call this concept net neutrality. So, it's my belief that the fact that we're having this discussion shows that not only does net neutrality exist, but also it's questioned as to whether we should have it, which is the debate.
96, they determined in 1996, which was in the 34 law, and said information services essentially will be unregulated. A service can only be regulated as a common carrier to the extent that it is a telecom service. And this is getting into the weeds. But essentially,
that's where you find the answers.
The FCC said, you know what? It's not a telecom service. We want this nascent thing to grow. We know it was strangled. Even the Clinton-era people agree with this. We do not want to regulate it. We want to let this grow, but it will be strangled as a result of common carrier. It is not a common carrier service. And the debate now wants to make it a common carrier service.
So is the FCC basically on the side of the consumer? Is that what you're saying, Mike?
I say no.
They're not.
I say no.
Okay.
Because I think that the system that they are going to, and I consider myself the true consumer advocate. I know people laugh. You may even be laughing about that. I know the reporters I talk to laugh about it. But I think the marketplace, and not essentially 3 bureaucrats out of 5 decide. I think the marketplace deciding is a better way to allocate resources, to allocate benefit, and to ensure that innovation reaches the consumer in a sustainable manner. I don't think the FCC, in creating a bubble, and we've seen the bubble before. We saw the bubble in 2000. That was as a result of bureaucrats deciding what telephone companies, MCI, and others were viable or not. We're in that same kind of bubble right now. I don't think that's beneficial in the long run to consumers. And I don't think it's beneficial because essentially short circuits the information that markets need to see to create services for consumers that meet their desires. So I say no. FCC is not a consumer advocate. FCC is captured by someone, but not the consumer.
So you want government out of it completely, and you just want the internet basically to be market-driven. Let the market decide what's going to happen.
I mean, I want that to the greatest extent possible, recognizing that where the market is broken and where consumers are truly harmed, not in some fake advocacy harm that we're seeing now, then yes, I want the market to run as unfettered as possible. I mean, in fact, that's in the Communications Act of 1996, Section 230. That is the policy of the U.S. still, to leave the market as unfettered as possible by federal regulation. And I believe that's still applicable, and I wish the FCC would take heed of that. Right now, the road they're going down takes us back to 1934, and really, we've had the innovations that have come. Cell phones been around for 50 years. ISDN, digital subscriber line, has been around for 30 years. Carter-era technology. Well, you wouldn't know that because that was regulated. And that's the stuff we want to avoid here. We've had a tremendous flowering of not only the edge. We all benefit, it's ecosystem, but also the infrastructure because of less regulation, not more regulation. I'm having a hard time understanding how more regulation would increase the benefit.
Mike is absolutely correct about that. The internet is not currently a common carrier. It is unregulated, and up to this point, and possibly into the foreseeable future, that has worked. And trying to just not not necessarily picking a side, but just trying to understand what the discussion is, because many people have a hard time with that. It seems to me that up to this point, without regulation, everything's been going business as usual, and it's been fair, and everyone is satisfied. However, it's not a common carrier, so it is possible for one side to request more of this common service than another person, and that's what they're requesting from the FCC. Hey, can we do this? And the other side, the home user, says, we prefer you didn't, and that's what's forcing the FCC's hand to make a decision one way or the other. And that is the two in the first hour. If they go out and declare the internet a common carrier, that would, basically decide the case. This is a common carrier. No one is more equal than anyone else. And the internet, net neutrality becomes, a de jure law, I suppose you'd say, instead of de facto law.
One of our again chat room participants, actually his nickname is Net Neutrality. He says, He says FCC.
Warning, Will.
Yeah,
Warning, Will.
Yeah, exactly. Danger. The FCC is run by the past CEO of a cable company, which is true. He says I want the FCC out of the internet. And I think we're all agreeing to that statement.
Yeah. Out of TV too. I want to hear more swear words. Go HBO.
Well, he did. Tom Wheeler, he's also a BC on top of that. So, he's had a lot of roles. Right now, he's serving the president, and indirectly, it's an independent agency, so technically he can't take any,
action,
orders, from the president, unlike, the Treasury Department or HHS or others. But, I think that those hats are important, and I can see entirely, if I were on the other side of the aisle here, or the other side of the point of view here, I would say, oh yeah, of course he's going to serve, the cable companies and the cell companies and the telephone companies and Silicon Valley and these other things. I think we've entered into an area where there isn't any logic any longer. I don't think that everyone's got good arguments. I think all of your arguments are good, and but I think that we've entered into a situation where a decision has to be made. I think that the FCC is probably going to come up with some sort of hybrid authority that saddles internet service providers, the networks essentially, the infrastructure providers, with some sort of common carrier obligations, and then some lighter rules for consumers. That concerns me, and because I know the habit of the FCC. But I don't think that we are logical any longer, and it saddens me to some extent, I guess.
I've one more quick question, I hope. For the duration of this discussion, and thank you so much for having. I feel like I've learned a whole lot just having this.
I feel like we've all grown as people.
Yes. Up to this point, it's you've been saying, hey, let's give it a shot. Best case, the internet improves, content gets delivered faster, everyone is more satisfied, and nothing, physical had to be done. It was just strictly on paper. But let's, I think because, this is almost uncharted territory, and no one is entirely sure what's happened. In order for us to make this decision, we would have to consider the worst and not just the best. And worst case, what could happen to the internet if, the internet is declared not common carrier and it really does become the Wild West out there?
What would the worst case be? Well, I think the worst case would be that consumers would receive benefit. They'd see a whole bunch of pretty cool services.
That's the worst.
And I don't really see a worst case. And I all the tools are there to police them, their own habits, information that's out there, current law enforcement techniques and tools. they're there and they still exist, and really any bad actors are going to get their butts kicked. So I don't really see a worst case. I really wish the FCC could allow these communications companies to be truly communications companies. You know, in what part of America, if I call myself, you call yourself a communications company, you know, is the FCC breathing down you to tell you what to say and how to deal with me? I mean, I don't want that. I don't want that for the very largest companies. I want to see what will occur. Let's experiment. We've been in this 10-year experiment. It's been pretty darn good. In fact, exceptional. It's not perfect.
Sure.
You know, it can improve. But I'll tell you what, putting an FCC rule there, you know, like a hall pass. When did that ever improve your life? Getting the hall pass from the hall monitor. You know, unless you really had to go to the bathroom.
I was the hall monitor.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I want the hall monitor there. And yet the school still remains, right?
Sure. Yeah, well, yeah. You know, just to speak for the flip side. My fear is that worst case we're going to have like that water situation we were describing, you know, where water is essentially goes to the highest bidder, and if you can't afford the water, then hey, you know, just be glad internet's not as important as water, right? I mean, that's my fear.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think the internet's important, but I don't think it's as important as air or water.
Yeah,
we can do without it, right?
And I also grew up, and probably maybe Craig grew up this way too. I mean, we had one choice.
Books.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble stock would go through the roof.
Hey,
Mike. You know, and now we have.
Yeah. Well, Mike.
Yeah, now we have many.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. We're coming up against the break, and
sure.
I really want to thank you for being with us here tonight. Again, MediaFreedom.org is the website if you want more information about this, or you can go to our show notes page at ComputerAmerica.com, and you'll see today's show, November the 7th, and you'll see a link there to MediaFreedom.org. That stays up forever, and of course, if you missed any of the show or any part of the show, you can always go to the archives page and download it, the audio and or the video. You have choice of both. You can use Apple's iTunes. We have the link there. The RSS feed there is under the archives page at ComputerAmerica.com, so you can check it out for yourself. Again, Mike Wendy, president of and directing of the media freedom.org, the website. Mike, thanks so much for being with us tonight. Very eye-opening. Very eye-opening.
Thanks. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Good discussion.
Thanks so much, Mike.
All right. You take care and have a great evening. And have a nice weekend, too, okay?
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Oh, awesome. Thank you, too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So there you go. Again, MediaFreedom.org. And check it out.
Wait. I disagree.
What?
Oh, it's too late, isn't it?
I've been telling Chris all day. I'm just going to say nothing, but I disagree to Ben. And he beat me to it. Gah! I feel disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Now, are you going to stay? We're going to do some computer news, and we're going to give away. We're going to do the show reminder winner of the week. You're going to stay with us for the rest of the.
Of course, I'm going to stay around.
Okay.
For the world. Hush now.
Okay, so he's going to stay. All right. Well, you're listening to the Computer America Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the Boon Radio Network. It's Ben, Aaron, and myself. We're all doing the show tonight, and we're going to come back with computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They're the official optimization software of Computer America, and we're going to have our show reminder of the week. We're going to be announcing who that is when we come back as well. You're listening to Computer America. We're going to be right back. Stay. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission is to protect and enhance the lives of companion animals and the people who love them. Their no-kill rescue shelter is open year-round, making it easy for people to adopt their best new friend. This year, Brother Wolf will find homes for over 2,400 orphan dogs, puppies, cats, and kittens. All have ended up as an orphan through no fault of their own. Brother Wolf has created a safe, nurturing environment where these special animals until they find a lifelong home. Their life-saving transport program brings dogs and puppies from overcrowded shelters in the south to rescues in the north where homes are easier to find. Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is a 501c3 organization. To learn more about their life-saving work and to make a donation, visit their website at www.bwar.org. That's www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Don't complain.
Up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number. 1-866-663-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MY-TV. 1-866-663-MY-TV.
Whoa now! It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the True Temper Scratch-Free Snow Brush. EVA foam is only coincidentally about extravehicular activities. It's the foam in those spinning slappers when you go to a car wash, and it's also how they did away with brush bristles on the new True Temper Scratch-Free Snow Brush from the Ames companies. We got the 32-inch model. It also comes in 28 and 30. 4 layers of foam, total about 5/8 of an inch thick, and a long bottom blade that wraps around the end and for a few inches over the top. The end and top are shaped to handle rearview mirrors and wiper wells and cleaning things most brushes can't reach. The main blade offers an interesting parlay of stiffness and flexibility. They can be effective against most snow, even wet snow, when you take advantage of the midway grip on its oval metal shaft for leverage. For ice, the tail end has a hard polycarbonate icebreaker and scraper. We've seen bristle damage to windshields and the body on earlier cars. To see that this is bristle-free. Bottom line, the True Temper Scratch-Free Snow Brush will be a welcome rider in our car this winter. This is Marty Winston with the News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America.
Oh, I just cracked myself up. Welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour. Mr. Mike is no longer here on the show. I want to say with us. Makes it sound like something bad happened. Before we kind of recap with Aaron and we kind of go over, because there was a lot to digest there, and I think Aaron would really like some decompressing time. It being the bottom of the hour in the second hour on a Friday, it is time to announce a show reminder of said week.
All right, let's do it. This week's show reminder winner is Susanna Pickering. Susanna.
I don't know why. Congratulations, Susanna.
Yes. Susanna wins the Logitech wireless rechargeable touchpad T650 valued at $80. Congratulations to you. You're our show reminder winner for this week, Susanna Pickering. And make sure all of you enter in the contest. We'll do another one next Friday, too. Just go to our contest page at computeramerica.com and enter it. And subscribe to our weekly email newsletter, the show reminder. We got some computer news that we want to do, so let's do it right now.
Whoa, wait.
No?
No, wait.
Right.
Aaron had some final thoughts, so
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
Okay, you guys can hear me, right?
Yes,
we're good.
I'll make sure. Okay.
We can pretend that we can't hear him. Did you hear him?
No, please don't do that.
I've been trying. It hasn't
My
worked.
brother is absolutely correct. I need some decompressing time, or I'm just going to explode, and my dog just can't handle that anymore. ISP guy just came through and strangled her, and she can't take me abusing her too.
Oh,
It
poor
would
baby.
just not end well.
Uh-huh.
No, I that was one of the more intense interviews I think we've had here on the Computer America show. And
Whoa. We did an app that let you turn your TV on from your bathroom. That was thrilling. Thrilling. You don't know.
Thank you for proving my point. I thought it would be, just it seemed to me for the first half of that interview, we almost didn't quite work on the same terms. I don't know if you guys guys caught that.
Though, in all fairness, very rarely does that happen. You know, we have the guys come
Yeah.
on, and if there's something, you know, if there's some kind of technical jargon, we usually have them, you know, define it, spell it out, very small words. And you know, being a technology show, it's very relatable. Although with that, it was, you know, admittedly slightly more bent to a political standpoint because, you know, this is going through the political system. So I mean, there was a lot of not really double speak, but you know, there was a lot of terms that could be applied
Yeah.
one way or another.
There are a lot of terms. It's a very complex discussion, and you know, I think one of the most critical ones was the term consumer, because the internet service provider, people like to think, oh, I pay the internet service provider and they give me everything, but that's not the case, right? They are the middleman. We are consumers just as much as Netflix is, and that is the basis for, even though it's not currently law, and Mike is absolutely correct. Net neutrality says that we deserve to upload just as much as Netflix does, and part of the discussion is, you know, saying, you know, these companies that make their money uploading content would like to pay more for a larger share of the overall upload capacity. So, you know, it's to me, it almost seems like the internet would turn into another form of television at that point, where people in their homes can do nothing but download, and people like, you know, companies like HBO and Netflix and Hulu do nothing but upload, and content just flows to us and never from us. And at that point, is it the internet we all know and love? Can we really contribute if we can't contribute?
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know, that's you know, that's why it's such an important discussion to be had, regardless of whatever standpoints anyone in this discussion took. It is worth doing some reading. You know, just use the internet while we still can, and find out what's going on, what the changes are, and get involved. I mean, that's all that anyone can really do.
But isn't that the nicest thing about the internet? If something, you know, if someone tries to, you know, say one thing but they mean another, or you're confused or anything like that, the great thing about the internet is Google it. There's lots of results out there. There's lots of information.
You
So,
can
like,
find someone who says what you want.
even if whatever Aaron said made you mad, made you say, I don't like that Aaron fellow. He's
I
not a
get
nice
that a lot.
cookie. Yeah,
It's true.
he does. You can go out and research your own, you know, research this very same topic and figure out why you don't like him, why he's wrong. So, you know, I guess we can kind of leave that one at that. Although I think, as far as interviews go, that was one of the better hour-and-a-half discussions that we've had.
Oh yeah, I think it's the first hour-and-a-half discussion we've ever had.
No, we've had more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's very good. All right. Well, again, and thanks to Mike Wendy for
Absolutely.
here. And you know what? Maybe we'll have him back again on another show. We'll get Carissa to book him again. All right. Well, that's
Sure.
it. Let's do some. A few more minutes. Let's do some. Okay. We all in agreement?
I disagree. I got to say it. Let's just go ahead and end the show here, Craig. This is a high watermark.
Tonight's Computer and Technology News is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system for free. And in this first...
Nicely done. I like that.
Huh? Say again?
Nicely done.
Oh, well, thank you. In this first story, Blizzard, this is Maximum PC, Blizzard announces team-based shooter Overwatch. Okay.
What? Okay, Craig, you can kind of step back from this one now. I got this. Let me just pop this little baby open right here. This one, Maximum PC, is the article that I felt most encaptured what Overwatch is. Although this is coming out of BlizzCon. BlizzCon just started today. It's an all-weekend kind of thing. You can still buy the virtual ticket where you get BlizzCon goodies for their games, and you can live stream the entire event, all 72 hours of it. Well, not 72 hours. They actually close it down like 10 p.m. West Coast time. But whatever. You can live stream the whole event from the comfort of your own home without having to fly out to California. But one of the first big announcements that they had at this year's BlizzCon was they announced a game called Overwatch. And they announced it with a trailer, about a 6-minute trailer, and if you haven't seen it, it looks very much like a Pixar movie. and Pixar, whatever.
Yeah, in a great way, because the Pixar movies are really nice, right?
They're very nice, but when you think Blizzard, you think dark, gritty, Diablo, StarCraft, World of Warcraft. You don't think, oh, Pixar. Everything's bright colors and kind of cute. But and then in typical Blizzard fashion, and then you get this dual wielding, gun-toting assassin shadow figure that comes in and tries to kill everyone. Amazing! It's mixing Pixar with Blizzard. I love it.
You do.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any of the gameplay yet. I heard that there was some gameplay shown, but this is coming on the heels of course, Blizzard canceling the working, the prototype game Titan. They canceled it. They scrapped it. They said, okay, never mind, we can't get this right. So for their first new franchise in over 20 years, they announced Overwatch. Overwatch is being pitched as a team-based multiplayer shooter. In short, it's basically Blizzard's take on Team Fortress 2. Fortress 2 being very, very popular, and I think a lot of people can associate, what Blizzard would look like in that, area. So the new IP takes place on Earth, approximately 60 years in the future. Blizzard said it has been dying to do a highly fictionalized version of future Earth, but said that they wanted to do it in the relatively near future, hence 60 years. So while the story won't take a huge component when you play, won't be a huge component when you play the game, the premise goes that 30 years prior to the game setting, evil robots take over and wreak havoc. Humanity then created a Overwatch Strike Force team, which dispatched with the robots. Over the decades, however, the Strike Force team ceased to exist. No one to fight. You don't need heroes. So while it sounds like a depressing scenario, Blizzard said that it wanted to create an upbeat environment as it didn't want levels to feel drab and dreary, which could be tiresome to play. The game certainly has a unique art style from what we've seen, and it's a mixture of Disney meets Team Fortress with a dash of anime influence to it. One of the levels we saw had a very BioShock vibe to it. By the way, BioShock, not a bad game to draw references to. And it kind of goes on for a while with some of the actual gameplay and some of the features of it, but I think the main story here is, of course, Blizzard, the powerhouse that they are in the gaming industry, able to create World of Warcraft, able to have StarCraft and Diablo. They have great IPs. Pretty much nothing they've done in the past has failed. They came out with a new franchise, Overwatch. And very much worth going to go see the YouTube video if you are interested, or even if you're not. It's highly entertaining.
I'm interested in what Grayson Hamilton next week when
he's gonna gush over this.
He is gonna gush over this. Yeah. Okay.
What about Aaron?
Two things come first to mind when I hear this. One, this is definitely new ground for Blizzard. I mean, they've done the real-time strategy. They've basically redefined the role-playing game, and now for the first-person shooter, this should be really interesting. But something that and Ben, you touched on this. Something Blizzard has always done with its games is they've created a really rich, in-depth game story. I mean, it really is an entire world. Every single one of these franchises that they set up, and it'd be really interesting to see the world that they want to create. That's when I play a Blizzard game, I'm honestly playing it for the story and the world and the immersion, and not just the mechanics of the game. So this really should be, a very promising new game that I also would love to try it out.
It's I don't expect this to be one of those huge $60 blockbuster AAA game titles that you're going to see next year, this year, when whatever have you. I feel like this is going to be kind of one of those think Hearthstone, TF2. I don't want to go out on a limb and say free, but it's going to be actually it might even be free with like a freemium model where you can buy in-game purchases, make microtransactions, but I don't see this being one of those big $60 huge productions like they usually do. So it's new ground for Blizzard, and it's exciting.
So it's also going to expand the because currently Blizzard has captured the RTS gaming community with StarCraft. That was huge, and then the RPG World of Warcraft is still the standard by which all other RPGs are compared. And now with this introduction of the first-person shooter, you're going to have a whole new segment of the gaming population potentially, becoming Blizzard fans.
Like, if anything, you could see this as a competitor to the recent game. Oh my gosh, I'm blocking it out.
Even if it's
Titanfall.
small.
There we go.
Yeah.
No, not Titanfall. Titanfall was that weird game. Destiny.
Titanfall looks fun.
Destiny by Bungie. That was released
Sure.
and is the MMO shooter. You can see this as sort of trying to capture the same audience.
But even if it's small, we've seen this with Blizzard. They'll put out the first game, it'll be small, but it'll get traction, and then the second game is when it really expands into a universe, and they really start to invest their creative department.
Blizzard has this weird thing where even if they put out small and they try to just kind of be cheeky. I mean, look at Hearthstone. Hearthstone was just supposed to be a tablet-based game. Very very usable with a touchscreen, very simple to do. I mean, it's essentially trading cards that you're kind of do the Warcraft's kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
And yet, I mean, they're coming out with an expansion soon. They just announced that at BlizzCon as well. They're coming out with their first expansion for Hearthstone, which, by the way, doesn't cost anything to play. But, I mean, even Hearthstone is a huge success. That thing has, I want to say 9 million users, more than World of Warcraft, because it's so easy and simple to pick up, and there is no pay barrier to get at it. I mean, even when Blizzard goes small, they end up huge. So I expect,
especially since their target market was tablets. I mean, that right there is, really making it so easy.
Tablet and mobile, yeah.
Exactly. Everyone's got a cell phone, even if people don't have a computer equipped enough to play World of Warcraft or StarCraft or any other game they put out. So that was a great decision on their part.
Yep, and for them trying to branch out into the TF, because they're also doing this with as a direct competitor to Defense of the Ancients 2 and League of Legends. They're also coming out with a game called Heroes of the Storm, which is currently in beta, which is one of these multiplayer online battle arenas. So it seems like where the people are congregating, be it TF2, be it Destiny, wherever, Blizzard is having this great idea of still keeping true to their company, but still trying to go after those markets. That they're not trying to. I really don't feel like they're trying to overextend themselves by creating this huge production, but they're still,
they're testing the waters.
Yeah, they're still putting out effort to get a horse in the race.
I want to hear an article from Craig. Apparently, this one was Ben's pick, Ben's favorite. I want to see what Craig's favorite tonight was.
Well, technically Craig picked that one, so.
Well, I didn't
Excellent choice.
I wanted this one from Ars Technica because we had talked about this before about swatting, and how dangerous that is.
Swatting. What is swatting?
Oh
yes.
Swatting is where an anonymous caller tips off the authorities saying there is a dangerous gentleman at so-and-so address. He is armed to the teeth. He is dangerous menace to society. He has explosive guns. He is not to be trusted. You should send a SWAT team over there and take him down immediately.
Yeah.
And of course, the victim of said prank is usually a gentleman or just someone who is sitting there playing on his computer or sitting there in his underwear eating a pizza,
way up.
not doing anything.
Well, they're usually playing a first-person shooter with explosions going on in the background with the volume cranked all the way up, and the neighbors hate it.
Well, anyway, according to this story from Ars Technica, a Halo assault rifle placed explosives and was holding hostages. Washington State local police said an executive for a video game maker Bungie was the victim yesterday of a hoax by a caller who claimed he had an assault rifle and was holding the family hostage. He wanted $20,000 to release the family, said the chief of the Samash Police Department. The 4 a.m. call appeared as if it came from within the executive suburban residence, police said. What did they spoof the call? They must have spoofed it.
I think they spoofed it.
Yeah. They dispatched a helicopter overhead. Police surrounded the residence of the executive, the Bellevue-based game maker whose identity was not released. A SWAT team was on the ready. About an hour into the incident, police said the executive family came out of the suburban house in his bathrobe, the victim of a swatting hoax. He seemed very confused at what was going on, the sheriff said. He said his name was Hauk. He suspected that the prankster might have been a contractor for his work or someone at his work who didn't have a great experience with him. Police did not immediately respond to Ars Technica for comment, and nobody answered the phone at Bungie, the maker of the Halo series and most recently Destiny. The company told the Kimono News that the victim was okay and declined further comment. One of the last swatting incidents happened in Littleton, Colorado in August, in which a popular gamer SWAT raid was live streamed on Twitch. I know it sounds funny, but it's not.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is go see the video of the live streamer getting swatted, and you realize these people bust open the door and have loaded assault rifles pointed at your face.
I hope they find this guy who did that to him. I mean that's I know he spoofed them. They got to have ways of finding this person.
I'm actually more worried about the cry wolf scenario, where if enough swatting gets called in, our SWAT people are going to require 2 phone calls before they start responding to situations.
No, that won't happen. That won't happen. They're gonna... No.
If SWAT raids are becoming a public nuisance, you never know. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't think so, but
you can only kick in so many doors with guns as a false alarm before people say, "Hey, how about we stop kicking down, doors with guns unless we have good cause."
Unfortunately, it's that is that 1 in 100 that is the real thing that you really want them to be not cautious, just get in there and do their job. But I mean, it's definitely becoming a problem, and hopefully through enough public education. I mean, there was that kid that was 16 years old, and they caught him.
Yeah.
And he was sentenced to 20 years in prison, I think.
Wow.
As a 16-year-old, tried as an adult, everything, he was now going to spend, and middle-class suburban white kid, not a care in the world, sentenced to 20 years in prison because of a swatting prank. I think public education is probably going to be the better end of this than it is to be cautious with your SWATs.
I think they're gonna find this guy because they have a lot of clues. They're gonna find him. They're gonna put this guy in jail and throw away the key. Really.
If he's a contractor for Bungie doing game development, he's probably pretty savvy with technology. I think it's a.
There are ways to cover it.
Yeah, they're gonna find him. They're gonna find this guy.
If you think.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I got one. That I think you guys. Okay, Craig, you said that you've seen the movie Iron Sky.
No, I have. I didn't go through the whole thing. I just started watching it. Why?
Okay, Aaron, have you seen Iron Sky?
Nope.
Okay, Iron Sky, available on Netflix, is a shoddy B-quality movie, maybe even C, where Nazis hide out on the moon after being defeated in World War II, and then they come back in the year 2020 or something like that, and they invade Earth, which is lunar Nazis.
I need to see this.
Which is lunar Nazis invading Earth. So it's it's the family feel-good movie of the season, and of course it was it was very it was very campy, jokey, and yet it had good production value. It was very entertaining to watch. So now, apparently, according to Blaster, there's a sequel coming out. Because why not? So it's the first trailer of Iron Sky: The Coming Race, with a female U.S. president avoiding a nuclear firestorm by being one and flying to a remote Antarctic bunker where she reveals herself as a clawed she-demon and descends into a hidden fantasy kingdom populated by goose-stepping Nazis and soaring dinosaurs. After a distant rumble rises, Adolf Hitler gallops up riding a T-Rex and hinting at some diabolical plan to invade the topsiders. So yes, you have Adolf Hitler riding a T-Rex going to invade the Earth.
From Antarctica.
From Antarctica.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
so in case you were wondering, what came of that whole Iron Skies movie, there will be a sequel to come out. And there was a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo which raised the $10 million that they needed to do this. And I'm sure it will be available on Netflix since that is where it first gained popularity.
Cloning a T-Rex is not cheap, people.
It was not cloning.
What? They actually found one in this day and age?
Well, in the movie, I'm sure it's CGI first of all, but in the movie, it's supposedly like a thing journey to the center of the Earth. It's like a hollow Earth theory with the dinosaurs still living there.
in
Oh
the
man.
in the warm inner things of the earth.
Oh,
Yes.
and it says here, and especially awesome touch is the T-Rex flashing the salute with its stubby little arms.
This Christmas, instead of the Grinch, like Mom wants, we're watching this Nazi.
Yes, it's Iron Sky: The Coming Race. It's
Yes.
Well, first you have to watch Iron
promises to be
Sky.
absurd.
You have to see you have to watch Iron Sky first, and then.
Oh yes,
Exactly.
the continuity was just going to be
Yeah.
crucial,
Out the window.
vital.
Net neutrality
wait.
in the chat room says T-Rexes can't clap. I guess
They can't. It's tragic. That's why they died off. They couldn't warn each other with claps.
exactly.
But it was like that movie was so weird, and then they're making a sequel, and I thought, yes, this is what we needed.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
We needed we just talked about they have a name now for the upcoming Star Wars movie. So
It's Awakens.
The Force Awakens. Yes, that's going
Is
to be
George Lucas at all involved with this production?
J.J. Abrams is directing it.
directing it.
Right. Right. How about George Lucas? Is he a
I'm sure he's
producer or
still-
anything?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He has to be a creative consultant.
Yeah.
At least.
Okay.
Hey, let me just take one more time here to Addison CCA in our chat room, and he's staying here to the end. Again, this is Addison. And again, thanks so much for your service and being here in the chat room. And we hope that we see you again soon. Don't be a stranger. Addison being our chat room moderator for all these years. And Star Fortress now has the handle Star Fortress CCA. He is now our new chat room moderator, and he will be taking over the mantle from Addison, and that'll all start next week. And speaking of next week, have our next guest on Monday is going to be something called Off-Grid Net. And this is really interesting. We're going to have the Mr. Nick Rosen. He is the publisher of offgrid.net. And basically, he's going to talk about people who live off the grid, and why people want to do that, and the main reasons why they do this, and is it worth it, and can you live in a normal house and still be off the grid, and what that takes, and it's going to be people who shun technology, I guess, or maybe embrace technology to live off the grid. I mean,
I think that's probably closer to it.
Yeah.
Technology's at a point where you get the creature comforts, and you can do it all.
90 seconds.
and yet live off the grid. So that's going to be offthegrid.net. That's going to be in our first hour, and then of course in hour 2. We're going to have more computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They're the official optimization software of Computer America. Hey, are you guys going to see Interstellar? Because I'm going to go see that this weekend.
Do not go see it this weekend.
Why?
Because we were planning on coming to visit you the following weekend and watch it with you.
Oh no! You tell me.
Can't.
You tell me this now?
60.
I didn't think you were going to go see it.
Oh yeah,
Without us.
your mom and I are going to go see it on Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been looking forward to seeing this movie for a long time. Well, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll go see it a second time. I don't know. But anyway, that wraps up the Computer America Show. Listen, everybody, have a great weekend. And thanks again to Aaron
Oh, yeah.
for being
Anytime.
on our Net Neutrality Show. And again, everybody have a great weekend. Catch a movie. If I can't see it, you can go see Interstellar. and then we'll be back here, and we'll see all of you here on Monday night. So until Monday night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you Monday night.
10 seconds.
We
Good
won't
night,
see
everyone.
it. And
Oh.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody watching us on Google Hangouts, our live video stream, thanks for being here. Again, catch a movie, do something fun, and thanks for being with us here, and we'll see you on Monday night. So say goodnight to everybody.
Good night.
Good night.